welcome to another chat in this series where I am going to ask some of your favourite familiar YouTube faces 10 questions that they have got to answer, whether they like it or not.
Oh, wow.
And
I didn't know that was part of the rules.
that is the rule. And the idea of this is just to find out a little bit more about the person behind the camera. So, what better than to introduce to you a very familiar face indeed? It's the lovely JB. Hello,
Thank you.
JB.
Thank you
Hello.
for having me.
And you're
I'm a
right.
little bit nervous now.
I know. Well, I've built you up a bit, haven't I? You'll be fine. You'll be fine. In just as a bit of a disclosure here, JB has seen these questions. Okay,
Yes.
apart from one, which I think that might be a bit nerve-wracking, but I'll be very, very easy on him. Um, okay, so I'm just going to get straight in there and ask you your first question, which I think we've just mentioned anyway. But who are you, and what's your channel?
I am JB, and my channel is naturally JB.
What can go wrong? How easy was that?
Simple.
That was
Simple.
okay, wasn't it? It gets harder. It gets harder. Okay, so whereabouts is it that you garden? Do you garden at home, allotment, other? Whereabouts? Where are you based?
So mostly the allotment. It all started as the allotment. And since then we've bought a house and we have a back garden now, which is it's a big work in progress. But mostly flowers and that kind of thing for the garden, not so much productive growing. Although I do get away with like slotting the odd bits here and there,
Mm.
which
And
is
is
nice.
it just you?
It's me and Jess, my fiance Jess,
Ah,
who does feature on the channel from time to time, although she's pretty much allergic to the allotment. It's like I've got to really drag her to the allotment. I've got to get a good excuse to get her up there,
but
but
it's
it does
I
happen.
think it's sometimes because I garden with Mike,
Yeah.
and I very often sometimes it would just be so much easier to just go up on your own, do what you meant to do, and not have somebody else's input. And Mike is going to laugh his socks off if he watches this because it's really, really welcome, and it's really good to have someone else to bounce off. But yeah, it can be quite hard if you think in different things and think in
Yeah.
different ways. So yeah, it's a different way of looking at it. Right,
Yeah, I
okay
can
then.
imagine that.
That's got that. You're on question three already. What is your main reason for growing?
I like this one. I like this one. So, for me, it was I changed from having a really practical outdoors job. I used to have a very physical job. I worked for the National Trust
Oh,
as a kind of ranger,
mm,
and then was doing other various bits and bobs in kind of wildlife management and conservation. And so I was outside all the time. Like I absolutely loved it.
mm,
It was very physical,
mm.
like like exhausting, and it did not really pay the bills.
Right.
So I switched from that to a desk job in probably like 2018,
That must be quite
2017,
hard. Yeah.
2018.
Mm.
Um, and I just miss being outdoors, and it was actually Jess who kind of convinced me. I had it in my head that maybe it would be nice to go for an allotment.
Mm.
And Jess was the one, she just put her name down. She was like, I'm gonna do
Correct.
it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it. And then we got a letter in like 3 months. We had a really quick, really, really lucky um, turnaround. And yeah, for me, it was just about getting out,
Mm.
getting some light and some fresh air, and not being cooped up inside all day, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a little bit of taste of the outdoors,
And I think well
for sure.
timed as well, because of course we had the COVID thing
We got it just before
fairly
lockdown.
shortly. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got it just before lockdown.
Did you? Well, I shouldn't ask. I was going. We had a whole debate whether we should be going to the allotment because
Yeah.
you've probably seen us is they're quite spaced apart and everything. And yeah, yeah, it was quite difficult because we were only allowed out the house once a day, if you
Yeah.
remember. And do you tie that in with going and going to the plot and everything? So yeah, tricky, but what a
Yeah,
great
they
place to have.
They clarified it in the guidance after a few
Yeah,
weeks, didn't they? And said that actually allotments could be included in the physical
yeah,
exercise,
yeah.
which was lucky.
Weird times, weird times. But yes,
Yeah,
people just know the importance of outside growing space now, just outside spaces, fantastic, fantastic. Okay,
exactly.
so that might then tie in with the next question. Why did you start your channel?
So for me, if you go back and look at my first video, not I don't mean to plug it too much, but my first video is still up there. It's the first one I ever made, and it's about the kind of transformation and what it looked like when we took it on, because it was, I'm not exaggerating when I say 7, 8 foot high brambles.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing, well, the first half was just complete bramble jungle. And I think we got it in kind of the start of winter.
Hmm.
And then by February, I'd been taking quite a lot of pictures, but I was really just wishing I'd documented it more.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was why I started it. I loved the idea of being able to go back and look at how far I'd come and what I'd been up to.
Hmm.
And I still do that to this day with the channel. That first video, it's a shame that I didn't start videoing from the off. It was kind of 4 months after the fact. So that first video is it's not as we're doing it.
You're
It's after the
already in
fact,
there.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still glad it's there and that I took
Yeah.
all the pictures, and I love going back and looking at that one.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, do you cringe a little bit? I've not seen
Oh
it.
yeah.
Not saying you should.
Oh yeah.
When I
The
look back at mine, oh my goodness me, that it's so
it takes
valuable.
it takes so long to become comfortable in front of the camera.
Mm,
It's like so much more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I remember when I first started doing them, I was just doing it on my phone,
mm,
and I was like, oh, how hard can it be?
mm.
I've seen vlogs, I've seen people doing it. It's fine. You do it the first time you look at it, you just kind of stare at yourself, going,
Ah!
what do I say? Like, and then you do like 5 takes, and it's so awkward, and you don't know. It's very surreal and quite unnatural, I think, talking to a camera. It
It
takes a lot of practice.
it's so weird, and yet now, I say to people now, and I'm just quite used to talking to myself and nobody else listening. So it's just to me, it's the same thing now. But yeah, I used to be. I would hate. I was one of these who would hate listening to my voice on
Oh
a,
yeah,
a tape recorder. I think no, that's not me because you're getting to see what other
yeah,
people see of you as opposed to what you think is coming through.
absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah,
So yeah, yeah. But it's falling. What is it? Water off a duck's back now. I'm
yeah.
pretty sure, because
Do you,
go
do
on.
you, how do you feel when people can see you filming? Does that make you feel, or are
We're
you really
we're not
comfortable?
too bad, because we've only really got allotment neighbours on one side, and we've got these hedges, so it's really quite private. It's quite a big
Nice.
private space. And yeah, and I talked to them about it. When I first started, when we first moved up to that one, then yeah, I'd go in the polytunnel and do a bit in there, or somewhere hide somewhere and do something. But now I just say to them, don't mind. And always, I mean, it's courtesy, isn't it, to not get them in shot. So
Yeah,
that's all okay. But I've never really had, yeah, you do feel awkward at first. Again, it's just one of those things you get quite blatant about, isn't it? Is
I
that
don't.
how
I'm
are you?
still really nervous
Are you?
because
I
ours are wide open. Like
suppose.
10 plots over can see me.
Mm,
Like I'm totally exposed.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I still get a bit, if there's a lot of people close by, I do tend to go and find a quiet bit. And
Is that
the other thing is,
sorry?
I was going to say the other thing is when you've started filming and then someone comes over for a chat, it's like, no, come
I saw
on.
that happen when you'd just taken a bite of your chili.
Yeah. It was the worst
Yeah,
timing.
I just thought, is he actually going to carry on? Yeah, you
Yeah.
did. Well done, that man.
Yeah, he just came
But
over
it's
for a
true.
chat.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, we get people who just come in, and it's usually just when you're getting really wound up, when that it's a one take or it's the last take because everything else has gone wrong. You think
Yeah.
this one's going to work, but that's
Oh,
all part and parcel. Have you ever had any complaints? Because I know that some people don't like being on the camera, and
yes.
oh right,
I
okay,
have.
okay,
Yeah, I have. I had a neighbor who isn't there very often, but
mm,
we did not get along.
all right,
Um
okay.
and
So
it's very rare that I don't get along with people, and especially at the allotment, everyone lovely as pie, but yeah, one
yeah,
neighbor,
oh
if
shame.
she ever saw me filming, even if she wasn't, even vaguely in the direction of the shot, she'd come storming over and don't get me on film, don't get me on, I don't want to be on film, all this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Your hair's blowing back, and you're like,
I know.
okay, sorry,
Yeah,
okay, yes, don't worry, I'll make
yeah.
sure you're not in the camera. Oh,
Is she still there?
very rarely.
All right, okay.
but yeah, we don't get on.
Okay, then. So now we know all about your channel and about where you garden. What is your first garden memory? Is it 2018?
Ah. 2018.
A little bit before.
No, so my it's quite late, definitely quite late into my teenage years.
Mm.
I was like a proper shut-in as a kid. You know, I really loved my own company.
Sorry, who? A
A
shut-in?
shut-in.
A shut-in?
Yeah, like I would go in
Okay.
my
All
bedroom,
right.
shut the
Okay.
door, I'd be
Okay.
shut in, you know.
Okay.
Um, I was a bit of a loner
Mm.
as a kid for sure. I really liked my own company, spent a lot of time playing video games, that kind of thing. And it wasn't really until 14, 15, 16 kind of time that I started getting more into nature and conservation. I was doing like volunteering as part of a local conservation group and that kind of thing. And my parents had had allotments for quite a few years, probably since I was around 10.
Mm.
And they would have to drag me kicking and screaming going up there, you know,
Really?
as a kid. Yeah, as a kid, I was not into it at all, at all. And then it wasn't until I think I was probably about 15, I'd just start to go up and help out with a little bit here and there. You know, my dad would convince me like, "Oh, come and dig up some potatoes or something."
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that was kind of my first real experience. I didn't get properly into it. You know, like most of the plants you would point at, and I wouldn't be able to tell you what they were.
Mm.
But yeah, it was. I vividly remember kind of the first harvest of the potatoes with my dad, and being like, "Oh,
Ah,
this is really cool.
yeah.
Actually, this
Yeah.
is cool."
You can't knock that first harvest of potatoes, whatever
Yeah,
you are. It's just gold, isn't it? It's just digging for treasure. So yeah, yeah. It's
for
interesting
sure.
though. It's that you were that late coming to it. I bet
Very.
you subliminally though, if your mum and dad had been growing, they obviously were interested in gardening and allotmenting. And even though you
Yeah, yeah,
might not have felt like you enjoyed it particularly at the time, those little subliminal things would have been going in,
definitely.
wouldn't they? You know, so
Yeah, definitely. My
yeah,
mum was always into and still is into kind of wildlife gardening. You know,
yeah.
so she always had loads of stuff going on in the garden.
Well, they
And it's quite funny when I go around now, you know, we can spend half an hour sort of going around and looking at everything together.
oh,
And
that's so nice.
she occasionally still goes, "Who would have thought you would be doing this with me when you're in your
Oh,
30s?"
oh, it's just yeah. I bet she's
Yeah.
grinning away. I know. I know. That's lovely. It is lovely.
Quite sweet. Yeah.
Right. Okay, then. Next one. And I think people find this one quite tricky. Who or what
Ooh.
has influenced your gardening style? I mean, obviously, there's me. Yeah,
Obviously.
yeah, yeah. Is there something, or do you adhere to a particular way of gardening? Are you very eclectic? Are you just growing as you go along, if you like?
So, yeah, this is an interesting question. I hadn't properly thought about this one. And my kind of philosophy, the way I garden is still like very much in flux. It's still changing a lot. But the main thing would definitely be that background that I had in nature conservation,
Right, okay.
and spending a lot of time in natural habitats and natural environments and kind of studying of like basic ecosystem ecology and that kind of stuff. So how that filters down into gardening, I think it probably aligns itself with permaculture principles,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I've not studied, but I feel like if I did, I would be going, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, this is all
yeah.
kind of stuff that's been planted in my seed, like in my brain a long time ago.
Mm.
Um, and so it's always been very much a case of space for nature, a bit of wildlife gardening, leaving lots of untidy spaces that people get angry about in the comment section.
You,
You know, that kind of stuff.
oh, yeah. You know what, though? My parents were completely the opposite of what it sounds like your mum was, is
Yeah.
in that they were very 70s mown lawn,
Hmm.
stripes, geraniums. If you had to have really tidy soil and all that, and I think there was one compost bin hidden away, but everything was immaculate. And that's the way gardening was for them. And
Yeah.
so for me to just be able to just leave bits and then say to them, I remember saying to them, You need somewhere for the wildlife. What's going to
Yes.
happen? Well, we don't want them around here. It's a completely different way of thinking about it. Like, yeah, we need those untidy bits. But they're not untidy, they're necessary if you want to have
Yeah,
sort of ecosystem going, aren't they? So
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
excuse. But yeah, yeah, so it's interesting. So it's not necessarily like some people might say one person.
Mm,
Sounding, I'm just going to say that, but I
yeah.
think really the longer you're into gardening, you realize you do start to pick up from here, there, and everywhere. And even after many, many years, I'm still doing it. And that's what keeps it interesting, I think,
Yeah, I think for me it's kind of that key, that biodiversity thing. And another thing that was embedded in my philosophy. I'm not sure quite where it came from. I spoke about this very recently in my kind of thoughts on the year video.
Mm,
Um, but I had a really strong, like quite almost like a conviction that you should not spend money on
mm,
an allotment.
mm.
And I think that just came from really like that's how my parents did it.
Yeah.
It should be something that saves you money. And one of the, I think I've been maybe a year after I had the allotment, I went and I looked at all the costs and all the things that I'd spent, despite trying to do it as cheaply as possible. And then like weighed up the harvests
Uh,
and was just
uh,
like, wow, this has cost me hundreds of pounds. You know? And that was
right,
before, like now
right.
I'm much more open to actually spending money on it because I treat it more like a hobby
Well,
and
this is
something.
it. This is it. And like people used to say to me, because I went and bought the little scales with a hook because I thought I'm going to record everything I weigh and
Yes.
make sure it's cost effective and all this. Nah, it doesn't work. But then people would say, yeah, but think of the cost of a gym membership.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, but then I wouldn't go to the gym either. But yeah, it is. It is. You do it if you didn't enjoy it. Obviously, you're not just going to do it. I think in this country, we're lucky enough to not have to go and grow our own food.
Yeah, exactly.
Always a shop nearby, isn't there? So yeah, yeah, interesting. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. What would your ideal gardening space be?
Ah, so interesting.
Hmm.
But my little dream is like that kind of idyllic countryside, little bit of a small holding, definitely some woodland, like the whole package. And I would love to be able to do full-time self-sufficiency,
Hmm.
but there's no way it's realistic for me. Um, It's it's very similar to what Liz Zorab has.
Oh yeah,
I've been lucky enough to go and visit her and
of
see
course. Yeah.
see what's going on, and it is incredible. But it's also just an unfathomable amount of work. I
Oh yeah.
don't know how she does it. This scale when you start to scale up, it's difficult enough for me to keep on top of a tiny little allotment. And
I know.
I did the calculation. It was something like, she had 300 of my allotments or maybe more, and it's like,
I,
uh,
I, I don't. But then that is just proper full-on commitment, isn't it?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I think what I'd worry about if once it became a chore, would that take? Because it's a chore for a lot of us
yes,
a lot of the time.
yeah,
We've got to get this done. We've got to, But I think if it became something that we really had to depend on, would that take the fun away? You
yes, yeah,
know,
for sure.
so
That's, for me, that's one of the reasons that I don't love the idea of having livestock. Because you've got chickens, haven't you?
yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah,
gonna
but
ask you about chickens. Would they not feature on your little small holding?
yeah, well, so I kept chickens for a little while when we were at the National Trust.
Mhm.
Bloody hated them. I
No,
hated it.
no.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
hated
name
them.
them and think they've all got their own little character? You sing to them. You have a little.
I love.
Oh, come
I,
on
I
now.
I did enjoy them, but I actually hated the obligation. So I was
Right.
still quite young. I was a
Yeah.
bit younger.
What
Um,
obligation what was the obligation? You
just like
fetched
you couldn't go away for the we couldn't go away for the weekend. You would have to like, yeah.
there's ways
We
around that now. There's
I
ways
think
around
we probably could have invested in it a bit better and kind of set it up so it was a bit more automated and that kind of thing. But it was, mucking them out every week. We would do that, and they got like mites and stuff, so we'd be powdering
Oh, well,
them
that's
with
nasty. Yeah,
diet, yeah, and all this stuff.
gonna put you off.
Oh, and it was just like, I could just go and buy some eggs. It really was. It really did. The
Yeah, yeah.
payoff for us with the chickens was not worth it for me
Okay.
personally.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I think we know what sort of a man you are now, JB, with your non-chickens. I bet you enjoy a nice Sunday roast every now and then and grit as you tuck in. Right. Okay. That you're back. Yeah, I think it's a very familiar dream, that one.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll bring it up another time. But yeah, we sort of had that once, but it's not as good as it works out, or not as good as it looks. Right. Okay.
yeah.
Quick surprise, close question. Red wine, white wine.
Oh, red, definitely
Dear.
red. I'm a red guy.
Think you
Very
know
rarely.
someone. You think you know someone. Go on.
Oh yeah, very rarely. I like port. I absolutely love port.
At Christmas. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
all year round.
Oh,
All year round. I love port. That is my go-to. It's
okay.
very rare I actually have it in, but we always do have some at
Yeah.
Christmas. But
Yeah.
yeah, red,
Yeah.
red for
Oh, that's
sure.
good. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. Question number 9, and I like this one. Is there anything that the viewers might not know about you that you'd like to share?
Do you know, I thought about this for a little while. I don't think there is. Which is, I don't know if that's a boring question or an interesting one.
Is it just that you don't think they'd like to share it, or is it that you've got nothing to share?
No, more the open book.
Aha,
Like I
right,
do
okay.
think of myself as quite an quite an open and honest channel.
Mm.
I just said, I think I accidentally said that it was a boring question. I meant boring answer. Well, I didn't mean to call the question
Just
boring.
gonna press the button.
I meant my
Yeah,
answer.
chicken,
No,
red
because
wine. Yeah, go on.
yeah, when I saw it, I was thinking about a few little bits, but I think one thing that I'm quite proud of with the channel is that kind of openness and
Mm.
honesty.
Yeah,
It's highs and lows. I generally try and keep it pretty positive, but there are definitely times when things are bad. I had a really bad hay fever this year, and that was really bleak.
yeah,
It was really
yeah.
quite depressing. I've spoken quite a lot on the channel about depression and that kind of thing. And yeah, I think I'm pretty much an open book when it
Okay.
comes to the channel. I've spoken a lot about my past, about the conservation stuff we were all talking
Yeah.
about. Um, yeah.
All right then. So you're gonna skip that one. You're gonna skip that. We're gonna find something out about you, JB. I reckon there's gonna be someone watching now who goes, really, really? Did he not tell them about this? But no, no,
Maybe there's some stuff I can't think of, but
you've blocked it. You've blocked it. But no, but that's why people like your channel because
I hope so.
it's genuine, and
I hope so.
yeah, yeah. I think that's good. Yeah, I'll let you off with that one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, right. Okay, what? Whoa! Oh no, I'll do this one first. Question
Oh,
10. What advice would you give to someone starting out?
well, I would advise that they visit a brilliant YouTube series called Beginner's Guide to Allotmenting,
Yeah, yeah.
performed by
Ah,
myself.
yeah. Is this an upcoming series, JB?
No, so it's a started series that needs a
Right.
bit more work. But
Okay.
I did two episodes,
Mm,
and I'm really proud of them. I went back and looked at them the other day, and I started it when I took on that second plot,
mm,
and it was quite nice to have the experience of taking on a first plot, but also having that blank canvas in front of me that was
yeah,
triggering all the questions
yeah.
that new starters are going to be thinking of.
So you could apply
Um,
your knowledge. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So I think I'm half joking when I say go and watch the video, but I do think it is
No,
quite
no,
good.
it's good.
But the biggest thing is just about the your gardening mentality. It will develop over time, but I think the one I always keep coming back to is about it being a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Things are going to go wrong all the time. Everything is going to go wrong. You're going to have disasters, and it's all part. You need to embrace it. Otherwise, you're going to have a miserable time. Like when I arrived and I found a gaping hole in my polytunnel, you have disasters,
Oh
you
my
have
goodness.
bad things, they
Yeah.
set you back. It's okay to, feel angry, upset, whatever you want to feel, but you can't let it completely ruin your enjoyment or
Oh,
take over
get
because
you down. You can't. I
yeah,
mean, again, I think as social media, as creators, we can be quite guilty, especially on Instagram.
I hate Instagram.
Well, and probably for the very reason that it is all very stylized, very
Yeah.
beautiful, and all that. Whereas I think with a channel, you have just got to show it like it is, haven't you? Really, some people might care not to, and there are people who will watch that sort of channel. But yeah, I think it's really good for people to see that, even when you've been gardening for a while, things still go wrong, and we're still learning.
Oh yeah.
Part of the process. And if you don't like it, maybe it's not for you. Not everyone
Yeah.
fall in love with it, but if you do, it's great. Love it.
I'm going to come back to question 9 because I've just thought of one that
Oh,
I
come on
haven't
now.
I
You're
haven't
worried
mentioned
about
that.
getting found out, aren't you?
Yeah, one that I don't think I have ever. I've mentioned it in a comment before, but on that very topic, I have come close to giving up my allotments like
Right.
multiple times, especially that first plot.
Okay.
And I think that's it. Maybe it's not normal, but it's okay if that happens to you if you're struggling. And it's like a lot. They can be a lot when you've got all the obligations of normal day-to-day life, and then you've got somewhere that's meant to be a nice, relaxing space.
Even.
If it starts to become, not that, it can really, really get you down.
Yeah.
So there were 3 times where I was really genuinely thinking, should I give this up?
Mm, mm.
And that's one that I've not spoken about that much that people might not know about.
Well, I think it's really good to let people know. It's really
Yeah.
good, because yeah, that's part of it. So yeah, yeah. Right. Okay. A question for me. Now, can I just
Okay.
say, this is one that, whereas JB has had the benefit of actually seeing the
Yeah.
questions, I've got no idea what JB's going to throw at me now. So come on.
What is your least favorite thing about growing? And that can be across anything. So I don't mean like the part of the allotment that you hate the most, but like, in terms of maybe the jobs or the process. What's the one thing that if you could hire someone to do it for you, what would it be?
The actual gardening itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or you know,
Yeah. Um, that's a tough one, isn't it? You see, automatically,
I know
if
what
you'd
mine
asked me
is.
a year or two ago, it would have been weeding. But I
Really?
really quite enjoy weeding now. I
Yeah, me
find it
too.
really satisfying because we've got this sort of soil now that the weeds come up pretty easily. Mind you, you should see it at the minute. But yeah, but no, so I do quite enjoy that. But it's easier. I might be able to get away with this. It's easier for me to say about making videos. Would
Yeah.
that do? So the
Yeah,
best
definitely.
part for me is actually filming. It's actually, if I could hire someone to actually come and put the camera up, check everything's working, just say,
Yes.
just go and do that. Let me go and do it. Film it. I'd be happy going and do the editing afterwards. That,
Really?
but yeah, I used to hate the editing, but I really, really quite enjoy. I quite like the creative process now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but the actual filming, I find it so frustrating because, especially, you know what it's like. You've got jobs that you've got to get done, and
Yeah.
actually filming it as well can just, especially if you like to get different angles and things like that,
Oh yes.
and do the things where you're walking away from the camera, which is always my
Uh
there, and then
I
you've
used to do it. I used to do it. I don't
got
do
to
it
run
anymore.
back.
Yeah. No, I cut all that. I cut it.
Crazy. I know. But I mean, it makes for a nice video. But yeah,
It does, yeah.
yeah, I'm going. Yeah, so I'm ducking out of that one. I'm doing a number 9 on you there, JB. I'm just going to say,
No,
right,
that's
I've
good.
adapted
That's
it
good. It's
slightly,
interesting.
and that's it. So yeah, right. Okay then. Well, that's it. That's your 10 questions.
Very good.
How do you
Very good.
feel? Do you feel
Yeah,
like
good.
you feel like you've been purged? Like you've told us everything we need to know about you. I think what's interesting about this series is everybody's got the same questions apart from the quick close question, and it's just very interesting as it develops to see, what the different answers are going to be. And Just gonna have to become clean and tell you that JB and I were very abruptly curtailed with our chat when the video just stopped recording. So it's just down to me now to say a huge thank you to him for joining me and giving up his time to take part in this little 10 questions series. As with all the other would there be episodes, parts of this series? They'll be coming out on a Sunday on my YouTube channel, so look out for them there. But I will be creating a playlist, and once that's done, that'll appear in the details and the description below. And if you really want to see it a little bit earlier, you can nip over to my Patreon page, and it'll be out a couple of days earlier on an early access, whatever it is. So hopefully I'll see you in one of the two places, but do tune in again. And next time, Jane, you big pants.